hope all of you are okay today. My name is Jamarl Thomas. I am your host. This esteemed show is The Progressive Soapbox. I have just watched one of the funniest things, probably the funniest thing that I've seen today. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen a lot of funny things today, but if I had, this would be at the top of the list. I am a fan of British television. I love British politics. Love it. Do it all the time. I know people get sick of me doing it in the States. Like, why the hell is he continuously doing the British politics? This show has my name on it, meaning this is my show, and it's of the things that I'm interested in. People just kind of latch on to the things that they like, and they expel or don't pay attention to the things they don't like. But in this case, since I am, it's my show, I'm the one that likes it. I'm fascinated by British politics. I've often said that British politics, we are your darker cousin in this regard. We are a tick to the right in regards to the political spectrum. So our left-wing party in this country, supposedly left-wing party in this country, is essentially their Tory or Conservative party, and our right-wing party is off the fucking political spectrum. Now, they are journalists, they're reporters who do these news shows and everything else. They're somewhat different than our journalists. They don't necessarily accept what someone says lightly, and they tend to be a little bit more vicious, overtly so, in dealing with that stuff. They have to deal with both sides of the political spectrum. It's not like you're just on Fox News or MSNBC. You get both. British politics gets a taste of one of our right-wing figures. Ben Shapiro goes on Andrew Neil's show. And for some reason, somebody told Ben Shapiro that the things that he says and his ideas are good. He has too much confidence in himself. Let's say it that way. He looks at himself in the morning, he gives himself bad ideas. He has a false impression of how good he is. And in this case, he runs into somebody that doesn't have that false impression of how good he is, and that is perfectly capable of telling him that what you're saying is fucking absurd. Now, he doesn't say it that way. He says it in a particularly British way. And he goes after him, how can I say this? It's like he eats him alive in this interview. And it's so bad that Shapiro throws a hissy fit and walks off. He can't take the grilling. Now, the grilling that he gave Shapiro wasn't any different than any grilling that he would give anybody else. That's the part that's amazing to this. He just couldn't take it. He couldn't hold up to his own bad ideas. Now, Andrew Neil gives a class on how to take the right wing apart. Now, the funny part is, there's a British television show talking about this. And they start talking about it after the fact. Now, I'm not going to show that part. I'll put the video at the bottom. But listen to the way they have this conversation afterwards, because ultimately their appraisal is he's dangerous, not because of him himself, but more so because of the ideas that he feeds, this kind of echo chamber, and that ultimately just wasn't up to snuff. Andrew Neil, doing God's work.
People online and on social media, you're one of the biggest names in American conservatism. What is it you think you're tapping into?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things. One, there is actually a hunger for different ideas. The monolithic nature of the United States media is pretty evident in terms of its politics. People tend to agree on essentially the liberal point of view and increasingly a radical leftist point of view in the media. And obviously, I speak in response to that. At the same time, I try to provide an honest take on the issues of the day, and that means that I am not beholden to the Republican Party, for example. It means that I am going to speak out whenever I think that a principle is being violated, just no matter who is doing the violation.
I'm interested that you think there's a thought movement inside the Republican Party. I mean, haven't the conservatives... All
right, at this point, he stopped taking him seriously. It happened fast. If we're being honest, it probably happened even before they had the interview. He's going to start laughing here as he begins to ask questions. You'll notice it. Let's watch.
Run out of ideas in America. All the new policies, the Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, the Green New Deal, they're all coming from the left.
The idea that new ideas are absent in the Republican Party is obviously untrue. We have a very strong debate that goes on inside sort of the conservative halls of intelligentsia about what is the appropriate action to take with regard to the medical system. Should global warming be considered a real threat, or should global warming be considered something that technology will solve? And if so, what are the best best aspects of solving that. Now, there's a rich intellectual debate on the right about nationalism versus patriotism, for example, or populism versus free marketeerism. That debate is happening on the right. I think that it is intellectual sneering of the highest order to suggest that only the left has new and decent ideas.
Some of the ideas that are popular in your side of politics would seem to take us back to the Dark Ages, Georgia, new abortion laws, which you are much in favor of, that a woman who miscarries could get 30 years. A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
Well, okay, a couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree.
I love this. Any basic pushback. I love this. I love this. I love this. Are you an objective journalist? I'm a journalist. I'm asking you questions. Why can't you take these questions? Let's hear.
Barbaric and
to deal with
one
those.
Side of the political aisle has ideas. So I just want to point out that,
no, I know that
I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know
are
that
you a member of
broadcasting in America is now so polarized that on one program you only have the left and another one you just have the right. My job is to question those who have strong views and put an alternative to them.
Would you suggest that a late-term abortion is brutal?
Yes.
I'm not taking a view on this.
Yes.
I'm asking you the questions.
Sir, you just suggested the pro-life position is inherently brutal and terrible.
It is. It is. And by the way, this argument that, well, because you're saying that my particular position is brutal, that you're not objective, screw that. If one person says, look, I think people should be able to get along. I think people should essentially be this kind of multicultural society. And another person says, no, I completely disagree with that position. And I think we should be able to put blacks in slavery and kill Mexicans. Yeah, I think that other position is brutal. I'm being extreme here, but I'm trying to make this point that a political position can be batshit crazy and brutal. And yeah, it can be Dark Ages stuff. Saudi Arabia has just beheaded, 30-something people. Me saying that that's fucking barbaric doesn't make me not objective in saying so. It is barbaric. Now, you can make an argument that everything is relative in that case, fair enough, but that doesn't really mean anything. Ultimately, we're talking about politics. The world. What do you want the world to look like? And do you espouse points of view that brings us to eventualities that are fucking barbaric? Yeah, I'm willing to say that. Call it whatever you want to call it. Andrew Neil, again, doing God's work.
So I'm asking you, as an objective journalist, would you ask the same question to a pro-choice advocate by calling their position brutal and horrible?
What I'm asking you is that why is it that a bill banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages? What's your answer?
My answer is something called science. Human life exists at conception. It ought to be protected. Now, back to my question to you. You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down-the-middle network. It obviously is not. It never has been. And you as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages. Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest? Seriously, it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro.
Andrew Neil is not on the left. I'm just saying he's not. Andrew Neil is not on the left. In fact, I don't even know Andrew Neil's political disposition because it doesn't necessarily show it when he asks questions. You're just being asked questions. It's like, Jesus Christ, you get nudged a little bit and you cry foul. Oh, he hit me! He hit me! Foul! Where's the ref? Where's the ref? Oh, crybaby. Let's hear him.
If you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it.
Yes! Oh, God, I love it.
2020.
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016. And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
You're a culture war warrior. Isn't he largely on your side? You wrote once it was unlikely he'd appoint conservative judges to the Supreme Court. He has.
Right. That
So
is
you were
true.
wrong.
I like many of President Trump's policies, even if I still have serious reservations about his personality and character.
In your book, you say that there's quite a key phrase, we are so angry at each other right now. But as I say, aren't you part of that anger? Aren't you encouraging that anger? For example, you described Mr. Obama's State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist mentality in action.
Well, I think that if you want to argue with the characterization, then we can talk about what exactly his State of the Union address said. Is it charged language in politics? Sure. The problem that I have is not with charged language in politics, which I'm generally in favor of. I like a robust public debate and a very loud and spirited public debate. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I'm talking about is the assumption that people with whom we disagree politically are inherently of bad character or, in your words, want to bring us back to the dark ages.
But
Again, it depends on what it is. One guy wants to get along, the other guy wants to have people as pets. Well, it is a political position. Yeah, I think it's relative barbaric. One guy is for white power stuff. Yeah, I think some positions are somewhat barbaric. He's not wrong for that. Of course there are going to be some political positions that are barbaric. One guy in Georgia wants to behead somebody. Do I really want the state out there beheading people? Not so much. And in comparison to the rest of the world, in regards to the direction where we want to take humanity, meaning a better spot, do I think a world where the state is taking people out to behead for, let's say, doing social media stuff, do I think that person is barbaric? Yes, I think they're barbaric. I think they're barbaric. If you're holding an open-air ghetto, I think it's barbaric. If you're holding a ghetto or a gulag off the side of the coast of your country, just outside of your own legal structure, yes, I think that shit is barbaric. So yeah, I think there are some political dispositions that are more barbaric than others. I think John Bolton is a fucking maniac. Why do I think John Bolton is a maniac? John Bolton is an immoral actor. Does he have political dispositions? Yes. Are those dispositions Stone Age stuff? Yes. Yes. I can absolutely think you're a particular position. Just because it's a political position doesn't make it barbaric.
Again, it was your description of the State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist. There are plenty of things that are bad and wrong, but it doesn't make them fascist.
Well, I suppose that's true. But if you would like to, again, if you'd like to read me the column out loud, I suppose I can critique it for you.
Oh, well, again, with Mr. Obama, you said, and you're Jewish yourself. I only mention that because to put this in context. The Jews who vote for Obama are, by and large, Jews in name only. Ginos, you call them.
My statement was based on the fact that Jews in the United States, as an ethnic group, are largely irreligious, which is true by every single poll. Jews are the most irreligious group in the United States. As an Orthodox Jew who actually takes Judaism seriously, the point that I am making is that most Jews who are ethnically Jewish are not religiously Jewish in any context.
Statement.
No. The point you were making is that Jews who vote for Obama are Jews in name only.
I said that, yes, that is correct, that Jews who voted for Barack Obama...
No. He's saying something different. I see what Andrew Neil is saying. There's a slight distinction in that. It's not, God, that's horrible. Oh, God, that's horrible. The first time I heard that, I didn't get what he was saying. God, it's so horrible. He's saying... Shapiro is trying to quote this as, no. I was saying the technical point that many of the Jews in the United States are a-religious. Neil is trying to make, he says, no, what you're saying is, if you vote for Obama as a Jew, you're a Jew in name only. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't read Shapiro stuff. I don't pay much attention to Shapiro, so I don't necessarily know how Shapiro rolls under normal circumstances. I just know he's a right-winger. I've heard him in this debate with Cenk Uygur. It's nonsense. It's the most trivial. Well, never mind. Let's hear Neil.
Progenitor of the Iran deal, a person who was cracking down on religious liberty, a person who spent much of his career as president.
Cracking down on religious liberty. I think he's talking about Obamacare, if I'm not mistaken. He may be talking about Obamacare. Let's keep going.
President of the United States attempting to deprive Israel of the necessities to defend itself. That people.
Depriving Israel of its ability to fit. Oh my God! How are you? Wow! I can't believe he said that. I cannot believe he said that. Oh God! I don't even have to say anything. I can't believe he said that. That's an amazing statement. Like, of everything else in this interview, that statement is fucking amazing. In what way did Obama deprive Israel the ability to defend itself? That is amazing. That's breathtaking. Let's keep going.
Jews who voted for President Obama, by and large, cared about Judaism far less than they did about other priorities.
Did you said they should
Correct.
turn their badge in as a Jew?
Yes, I believe that if you are somebody who takes Judaism seriously, that comes along with ideological commitment.
He just got caught in a lie. He just got caught in a lie, I think. Neil, oh God, he's picking him apart. Neil is making a very particular point. You said that Jews that vote for Obama are Genos. Jews in name only. Well, no, I just meant that, the United States is, they're not religious by it. Well, no. You said that Jews were voting for, they're Jews in name only because, for the most part, it's almost like it's a betrayal to vote for Obama in this way. That's what he's saying. And then he's making the secondary point of, you went further saying that those Jews, which is already, like, this conversation is already a little dicey in general. Those Jews should turn in their Jew card. That's amazing. I can't believe he wrote that. Like, I can't believe he's saying this stuff. And people are taking him seriously.
I mean, I guess...
Also, I hope you're having fun, by the way, going through every old tweet that I've ever sent to try and do gotcha questions. But if you'd like...
These aren't gotcha questions! You said them!
Done and say, I don't know, that was 2012, so it's now 20...
You said them! But you said them! They're utterly absurd statements. Like, I think that's his point. Like, these are utterly absurd statements. And he's bringing them to you. Like, I'm pretty sure over the course of the time I've done my videos, I've said something that, in retrospect, I might be like, okay, yeah, that was stupid. But I don't, like, this is so absurd. It's hard to get across how ridiculous this is. So much so, he doesn't want to defend it himself. He's like, hey, these are gotcha questions. These are things that you said. You, when confronted with it, are stuck with the absurdity of it.
If you'd like to discuss something I've done in, say, like the past 5 years, why don't we do that? How about that?
Because your book is a criticism of how angry America is and how America has to do better. And I'm simply
I have an entire list on my website, sir. On my list, I have an entire website of dumb, bad things that I've said.
I'm simply trying to point out some of the things you've said that seem to me to help to stoke that anger. For example, you said Israelis like to build. Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Well, as I say in an article entitled, here's a list of all the giant, bad, dumb things I've ever said.
Was that dumb?
Well, yes, that's a dumb tweet. And not only, but it is also important to mention that the next few tweets clarify that tweet is specifically referring to the Hamas leadership, which, by the way, a BBC I've seen is relatively reticent to condemn.
No, actually, it wasn't. What you went on to do and say, you are correct about the slur on Arabs. It's not all Arabs that want to live in open sewage and blow things up. It's just Palestinians, you went on to say.
Wow! He is being eaten alive. He's been eaten alive. Shapiro is being given a class. He is never going to the UK again. You will never find him in the UK. Ever. He's going to be terrified of Brits after this. And Shapiro tries to lie. It's the lies that make this work, if that makes sense. Shapiro getting caught in the lie, and then, what's his name, clarifying, saying, no, you were specific. Do you remember the Austin Powers scene where Austin Powers walking through the airport? And that guy, I think he says, like, there's a dildo for Austin Powers or something, and he says, that's not mine. And he says, well, it says Austin Powers on. He says, no, really, that's not mine. And he says, if I say that it's not mine, no, really, it's mine. It's that type of stuff. Where Shapiro's like, no, I didn't mean that. He says, no, you didn't clarify. You meant, you went further. I can't believe he's saying this stuff. This is terrifying. I can't believe his book is selling like this. God, that's terrifying.
It's just the ones who take sides against Israel in the Israel-Palestinian conflict.
Population is rotten to the core, you went on to say. Not Hamas, the Palestinian Arab population.
I say that by poll numbers, they elected Hamas. They educate their children in school that Israel should be obliterated, sir.
I guess.
I can't believe he's this shallow. Like I said, I don't really pay much attention to Ben Shapiro, so he doesn't necessarily take up my thought space. But Jesus Christ. It's kind of like the Alex Jones thing. Like, I always think Alex Jones is an actor. I think he's kind of putting on an act. But whatever Alex Jones is, the people who follow Alex Jones are not putting on an act. Those people are legit. And so you have like, what, 1 million people or whatever paying attention to Alex Jones, listening to the things he say, gay frogs, lizard people, that type of stuff. They're not acting. Like, that's terrifying, if that makes sense. Whatever Shapiro is saying, whether he's acting or not, there are a group of people that listen to him. Oh, God, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. It took a brick to eat him alive.
If you want to read, honestly, this is a giant waste of time in the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans or old things that I've said at me. I don't see.
He didn't shout. He didn't raise his voice one iota. These are your own writings, dude. The stuff that you said.
How this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context and then hitting people with them is a way for you to make a quick buck on BBC off the fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
There are not many bucks to be made on the BBC, unlike American broadcasting, Mr. Shapiro. The point I'm trying to make is that your words are.
BBC is public broadcasting. I don't think he knew that.
Partly designed to produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
I just asked you a question.
And I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly,
This is not a conversation. It's an interview. Do you know what an interview is? He's not there to answer your questions, asshole. You're there to answer his. You're hawking a book, and he's asking you questions pertaining to the book to which you're hawking. This is not a back and forth. Oh, God, man.
Find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't care.
I don't
frankly give a damn what you think
wow!
of me. I've never heard of you.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this. But that's not the issue. You have a new book out, and it's an interesting book.
He's losing it.
But my point is, your book claims that
it'd be nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book
is
falling
apart.
I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again. If you would let me just finish the question.
Falling apart.
Your book
frankly, I don't
claims
think
that society is turning its back
sir,
on Judeo-Christian values.
Oh,
yeah,
what are those values? What are the values it's turning its back on?
I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time, sir.
All right. Thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse.
I love the ribbing at the end. Thank you for your time and showing that anger is a part of American discourse. I hate to tell, what's his name? I don't know if he watches British television. This interview was exactly going to be the interview that you got. The fact of the matter is, whether you're to the left or to the right, you can get the same ribbing. I've seen, oh God, what is his name? Jesus Christ, I can't think of his name. Neil would have done this whether you were to the right or to the left of the political spectrum. It wouldn't have mattered. You get ribbed this way because they rib you this way. I hate to tell you that. Maybe you didn't know that. And fact of the matter is, what he asked you wasn't all that brutal. He quoted you. You didn't love what you were saying? What, just a couple of years ago? Why don't you quote the book, sir? God, this was awesome. This was awesome. God, this was absolutely awesome. He just got brutalized. He got brutalized. I can't believe that this is... How does he have a book? How does he have a book? Slow news day. He's about to spill outside his diaper. He got, vampires destroyed. Destroyed is an understanding. Snowflake. Edward Klein is right. Snowflake. He got crushed. Jeremy Paxson. You know, if this interview, if he was with Paxson would have did the same thing. He would have eaten him alive. By the same token, Paxman will get Galloway, who's to the left, and do the same thing. Like, it's not your political affiliation, dude. They're not there to make you look good. In fact, they may dislike you because the book is decrying the very thing, or you're decrying the thing that your book is espousing, if that makes sense. And that's his point. You're putting out a book talking about American discourse when you have led to this kind of heated, backward discourse. That's his point. Couldn't take it. Snowflake Shapiro. God, he was out of his league. He was entirely out of his league. He had no idea what he was running into. He ran into a buzzsaw. Somebody charged that British guy with assault because he beat that shell down. God, that's awesome. Man, that is the greatest thing I've watched today. That is the funniest shit I've watched today. All right, I'm going to end this. Ben just got kneeled. Kneeled indeed. Jamal loves the BBC. I like the BBC sometimes. I like the idea of the BBC. Let's say it that way. But the BBC has their own biases, and they are definitely not a left-wing organization. The funny part is when he says you're clearly to the left, and he says you have no idea how ridiculous that sounds, because he doesn't have any idea how ridiculous it sounds, because it's not to the left. He's not to the left. He got eaten alive. Degrees in defiance, rolling on the floor, laughing. Oh, Shapiro can't defend his own ideology, claims unfairness, runs away. He said, "You're biased, buddy. You're just biased." He says, "I'm just asking you questions." And Shapiro's like, "You didn't answer any of my questions." Like they were there to have a conversation. They weren't there to have a conversation. They were there to have a debate. I mean, not to have a debate. He's asking him questions regarding his book. And you're coming out saying you have the strong ideology. Great. All right. Let's talk about your ideology and the things that you want. You said this. You said some hateful, racist things. And now you don't want to defend the hateful, racist shit that you were saying? Oh, no, you're just to the left because you're calling me hateful and racist. No, yeah, okay. Sure. This was a brutal beating, man. Somebody charged Neil with assault. Shapiro's clash of civilization ideology is a joke. Yeah, he couldn't handle it. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. He was not ready in the least. Oh, man, that's brutal, man. That's brutal. I love that. Again, he clearly has never watched broadcasters. Neil Paxman. God, what is that woman's name? I can't think of a woman's name. But British broadcasters, they can be a brutal lot. I'll say it that way. Mr. Neil is still rather right-wing. Yeah, that's my point. I don't think Neil is to the left at all. And a bit of a tosser. However, he is not dim, and to give him some credit, he can be surprising sometimes. Yeah, I don't think he's a dim bulb. I've seen him do some vicious interviews. I've seen him do an interview that was rather unfair with Galloway, but I'm somewhat biased towards Galloway. He is, shout out to Andrew Neil. Clap of the hand. Clap of the hand. I'll end this here. This video has gone long, but I have to be honest, I kind of enjoyed watching Shapiro take a beat down like that. I'll leave it here. If you guys enjoy the content, please consider supporting my PayPal or Patreon. Like or share. Thanks all.